Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a viewer ask me, hey, what's the point of trap bar deadlifts? Are they useful? What's their use? And at what point would you consider replacing the regular deadlift with the trap bar deadlift in someone's program? So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on scaling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Alright, I personally do not use the trap bar deadlifts. I have at certain points when I was doing West Side conjugate method, just to rotate different exercises in. Most people, I don't recommend that they do trap bar deadlifts. Now, for those who aren't familiar with what the trap bar deadlift is, they're bars that they're called trap bars or hex bars that were made for people to do shrugs with, which works the traps, hence the term trap bar. But you have a hammer grip. Your hands are at your sides instead of out in front of you gripping a bar, which changes the biomechanics of the exercise completely. Also, some of them have different handles. Some of them have higher up handles that you can grip higher so that you can create a shorter range of motion and lift heavier weight. There's a lot going on there. In fact, they're actually easier to grip. I found personally, like if you guys recall, when I had done a video a long time ago, when I was doing the conjugate style training, I gripped a really smooth bar with no knurling on it, and I deadlifted 600 pounds with a trap bar really, really easily. It wasn't really a problem. In fact, I had no slippage at all. It didn't feel like it was that heavy. It felt like gripping 500, 550 tops with a normal deadlift, even with no knurling on the bars, completely smooth bars on the handles. Wasn't really a problem. So you're dealing with a different exercise, and you're dealing with an exercise that, depending on what you're doing, you can usually lift more weight, but the biomechanics change. And the thing that changes, the trap bar deadlift puts less stress on the lower back. Now, a lot of people say, well, that's a good thing. You don't want to stress your lower back. Well, unless you want to get your lower back stronger, when you stress any part of your body or different muscles, that's what makes them get bigger and stronger. It's adaptive stress, progressive overload, making a muscle work. In this case, it de-emphasizes the spinal erectors, and it's because the bar isn't in front of you. The center of balance is to your sides, and it also allows you to squat a little more. It's almost a hybrid exercise between the deadlift and the squat. So, ultimately, does it allow for just as good of development overall as the deadlift? Sure it does. Sure it does. In some cases, it might even be superior. But the thing is, it doesn't give you the lower back and therefore the core development and everything that you want from the deadlift. And for most people, myself included, the deadlift is our primary lower back exercise. Now, obviously, a lot of people compete in powerlifting, as I used to do, which means the deadlift is a mandatory lift. But for a lot of us, it's the best lower back exercise we have out there. And it's a big, full body movement. And you can find a deadlift bar a lot easier than a trap bar. Let's be honest here. In fact, what you find a lot of trap bars, even if you do manage to find one, is very limited. They don't have wide enough handles to put much weight on. And you end up being limited to like 400 pounds. And that might sound like a lot till you realize that people who follow my novice program end up deadlifting 400 pounds for reps by the end of their year. Well, you can pull more than normal on a trap bar than you can with a conventional bar. So, for anyone who needs the deadlift to be their primary lower back exercise, I don't really recommend the trap bar unless you're going through a phase in your training, and this is going to be where they might come in handy, where your lower back is becoming too fatigued, meaning you're starting to overreach with your lower back. You've had to deload and you're worried about your lower back having a problem. So some people for a phase, 3 weeks or 6 weeks, might rotate in the trap bar. Or you're still wanting the deadlift for the overall full body development and strength of the deadlift, but you're finding you can only deadlift once a week. Then you start running into problems, right? So you're like, well, I want to get a lot of the benefits of deadlifting, but my lower back can't recover and keep up. And that makes sense. The lower back is a workhorse. It can handle an enormous amount of workload for its size. But it also recovers slowly. So for some people who are trying to deadlift multiple times a week, they find they simply can't do so. In which case, in their programming, and this is not for novice lifters, it's more for intermediate or advanced lifters, rotating in a trap bar on a separate day every week when you find that your lower back just won't let you pull more than once a week with any appreciable volume, because some people like to do higher volume. They might be doing 7 to 10 sets of 3 reps or something, or even 5 reps, right? That can be a lot to recover from, but they want to get an extra deadlift session in the trap bar becomes viable just for overall hypertrophy of those muscles. And it will have carryover to your conventional deadlift. It will. It will to some extent because it's a very similar movement pattern working the same muscles. But for most people, I simply wouldn't recommend using it exclusively. But there are exceptions to that. There are people who, for certain reasons, they need to put on as much strength as humanly possible. But they can't overtax their lower back because they're versatile athletes. So who would people like this be? How about field athletes in a contact sport? Like how about American football? How about rugby? Yeah? How about those? Maybe certain types of MMA fighters. All of those guys need to be as strong as they can be, but they can't have things like their lower back be so fatigued from training that they can't function, because every single one of those athletes, they have something besides the weight room that they're having to do. They're having to do other types of training. Even in the off season, they're doing wide varieties of training, of sport-specific training. Your lower back being pushed to its edge can cause it to cramp up easily out on the field. How about when you're sparring in MMA because you've done too much volume of deadlifting and your lower back's taking 3 or 4 days to fully recover from that? That could cause you problems when you're sparring, particularly when you get hot and you're getting in a lot of different movements in, a lot of varied things that you are doing when sparring or some of your sport-specific training, it could cramp up on you. Field athletes, particularly during practice, when you're getting hit in practice, having that lower back be fatigued because the deadlift is beating it up too much and you're trying to do too much of it, could become a problem. It can increase your injury rate because you can't afford to have your lower back be fatigued when you're out there taking hits on the field. And that doesn't just mean during the competitive season, it means in practice, because you do get hit in practice in a lot of these contact field sports. All right, that's a definite concern. This is a valid use for the trap bar. And definitely in season. Anyone who's in season in those sports, I would definitely use a trap bar. Definitely use a trap bar. I think it would probably be the better tool in that case, just to keep the fatigue off their lower back. And if they want to go back to conventional deadlifting, they can do so more in the off season. How about certain types of military personnel? All right, a lot of guys in the military out in the field, they weight train. And particularly, what does most of the trainers of special forces guys tell you? That they need them to be as strong as possible. And I notice I didn't say as big as possible. They don't necessarily need them to be 250-pound bodybuilders, but they need them to be strong. They need them to be able to carry a full loadout, grab one of the other guys if he's wounded and throw him over their shoulder with his full loadout on and carry him off the field. All right, that is kind of a necessary minimum strength level to be in any sort of elite special forces unit in any military in the world. That's bare minimum. That's minimum strength. You can't do that, you don't make the cut. There's no point you even trying. So how about those guys, or ones who do that? They need to be strong, but they also spend a lot of time in a prone position on the ground shooting. Lower back fatigue can start to add up for those guys. So again, same thing, maybe snipers out in the field. The trap bar deadlift is an invaluable training tool for military personnel out in the field. Who are out there. And it doesn't matter which military, doesn't matter which war they're in. It becomes a valuable tool for them. So there's another real-world application for it outside of elite athletes, although we could argue those guys are elite athletes of a different caliber, but they are elite athletes in their own right. So it could be a valuable tool for them as well. So basically, the trap bar becomes a valuable tool for anyone who at any point in their current life, their training programming, their sport, or whatever it is that they do for a living, they cannot afford to have a fatigued lower back for days on end. But they want the overall strength and size of the deadlift. And if that means that they trade off a little bit of lower back strength in exchange for the other, they deal with that. So that's who the trap bar deadlift is useful for. Anyone in any of those sort of situations. Me personally, I don't do it. I haven't done it in a long time. I do the conventional deadlift, but my needs don't require me to do so. If my lower back is fatigued, I just pick other exercises. I do cleans and push presses and other big full body movements. And I only deadlift when my lower back is allowing me to do so. Just because I'm doing higher volume sets these days. Back when I was doing lower volume deadlifts, I could pull up to 3 times a week just fine. So for me personally, I don't have a need for it, but people in a lot of those other situations, the trap bar deadlift can be a very valuable tool. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.